Hello, this is the TradeSite U.S. stocks and futures market preview and domestic economic data roadmap for the week beginning Monday, the 11th of September, ending Friday, the 15th of September, 2017. Hope you had a good trading week. Typically by now we'd be in the full swing of post-summer, but obviously Hurricane Irma is a big deal and has put a kibosh on trading to an extent. I think everybody's just watching and waiting. The big money people in Florida are on the move, and that does affect the market. So we had some light volume on Friday. But you gotta worry about people's lives before you worry about the market. So other than that, here's the ES front month futures contract daily chart. Look, nothing new. We've gone nowhere for a couple months here, and other than that, it was a push up for a couple of days. And realistically speaking, we're about 60 points higher than we were back at the end of February. So that's not exactly exciting. Let's go through the major indices, and then we'll talk about where we're at in the market. So the crude oil down $1.62 to 47.48 on Friday, so that's down. That's probably mid-range for the year. It's been a narrow range. I mean, basically a 13-point range on crude oil for an entire year. Gold up 90 cents, making a new closing high for the year. S&P cash index loses 3 points. That's not a big deal. It was dead flat. The broad market was dead flat on Friday, as we expected. As we were dealing with futures contract roll, but also the hurricane. However, the NASDAQ side was negative, down 50 points, 51 points. I mean, it's not a huge deal. It puts us inside of the week's range. But again, remember, we had a 13 sell signal a week ago, and so far that's been right on the money. So we'll see what happens. The SOX down 13.85. Okay, great. Biotech's down 13.03. The VIX gains 57 cents up to 12.12. And of course, that would probably go higher if we get some better volatility. Unfortunately, the trend gives us a high number at 1.40, which brings the 10-day moving average back to 1.06. Hard to get down to that 0.85 sell signal in the market. NASDAQ volume, the lightest of the week on Friday as everybody fled Florida, 1.78 billion shares. Again, this whole week, though, was better than the last 2 weeks. So pretty typical. The last 2 weeks of August, really light, everybody on vacation. Labor Day, we're done. Summer's over. Should be better. It's just not as good as it could be because of the hurricane. And that's fine. Let's just worry about people's lives. Advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ plus 109. That's basically flat. On the New York was negative 169, and that's pretty flat as well. Google loses $8.48. Here's why the NASDAQ was down. Google down, Apple down 2.63, Amazon down 13.57. Other than Apple, none of these are near their highs. These were the big 3 or 5 or 8, right? Netflix down $2.58. Tesla down 721. It's got a 13 buy signal, but be real cautious of that. The 13 buy signal comes higher than the 9-bar startup phase. So I don't always love those signals on the Seeker, even though we use that on the daily charts. The 20-year bond ETF TLT down 28 cents, but still near highs for the last 8 months or so. Goldman Sachs rebounds after selling off on Thursday, comes back $1.37. Remember, we have rolled to the December, that's the Z7 contracts on futures. So here's a look at the year. Now you can see the volume on Friday and the volume on Thursday versus the volume on Wednesday in this contract. There was no volume on Wednesday in this contract. That's why usually this is a waste of time for 2 days. I mean, if you look at this, look very carefully and understand what we're talking about, right? When the markets roll the futures contract, Thursday the money comes out of the contract, and Friday you're using the new contract, volume starts to come into it, but it doesn't have the prior technicals that it should have because Thursday was light volume on that contract. And what do we get instead? We get 2 days of a 7-point range in futures because none of the big players want to play. That's it. That's how this works. A lot of times it's not a great day to be trading. A lot of big players will stay out of that one. NASDAQ side was a little more negative late in the day on Thursday. We'll go to 10-minute candles and look at the whole week real quick on the NASDAQ. Remember, we had Labor Day holiday, so we never filled the gap down from on Tuesday, but never really broke the Tuesday was the widest range day of the week. Same on the ES. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday were dead flat. All right, so let's switch these back, and then let's talk about the data that's due out this week. But again, the focus is going to be on 2 other things. It's the hurricane and whatever that causes damage-wise, and then it's also the fact that this is triple expiration week, so we're going to be rolling to we've already rolled to the December contracts, but with the expiration, we should expect maybe Wednesday or Thursday the unraveling of the options positions for the quarter, and then Friday a completely dead session. Monday, there's no major news announcements. Tuesday, small business index at 6 a.m. Eastern, Redbook at 8:55, JOLTS job openings at 10, and then more bond stuff. Wednesday, we've got the MBA mortgage applications index at 7 a.m., PPI at 8:30. We've got the weekly crude oil numbers at 10:30, assuming that comes in on time with the situation in Florida. Treasury budget at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and more bond action at 1 p.m. Thursday, we've got the consumer price index. That's the CPI. That usually comes on a Friday. The weekly jobless numbers, Bloomberg Consumer Comfort Index, natty gas at 10:30. And then on Friday, we've got retail sales, Empire State Manufacturing Index at 8:30 a.m., industrial production and capacity utilization at 9:15, business inventories and consumer sentiment at 10 a.m., 30 minutes in, and that's it. That'll wrap up the week. But again, remember, it's options expiration on Friday. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken the trial of our